Hi everyone, back with another animated movie review, this time of Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation. So as I said in my previous reviews, I do enjoy the movies, even if I do think there's problems with the plot and some of the characters tend to get on my nerves, and there are times for both movies when they find the need to be really cool and hip, but at the same time, their animation style works for their films, even if they aren't the greatest. They work for the comedic style. There are some good laughs, and there are some nice, touching moments here and there sprinkled throughout the films. So, I can definitely see the appeal of them, and I do like them. So now we're on to the third movie, Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation. So, my thoughts? For starters, we have a more cohesive storyline this time around. Dracula has some more conflict when he falls in love or zings again on a cruise ship with the captain, Erica. Unbeknownst to him, though, she is the daughter of Abraham Van Helsing, his rival that he's had many tangles with in the past and is a renowned monster hunter. So, naturally, that makes the prospects of romance with her a little off and unlikely. And he has some conflict, not over that because he doesn't know at the time, but over the fact that he loved his wife Martha and the prospects of falling in love again, and how it'll bring it to his daughter Mavis, who becomes overprotective of him, similarly to how he was of her in the first movie. Meanwhile, Dennis and Winnie are trying to sneak their dog Tinkles on. Tinkles, I believe, came from the short film Puppy Before the Emoji Movie, which I have not really seen other than clips on YouTube because I wanted to avoid that film. And I should not have said that considering I have a review channel. No. But back to Hotel Transylvania 3. Now, most of the characters don't have a lot to do for this, but they can lead to some good gags, and yeah, there are a lot of good montage scenes, even if sometimes they come up at bad times, like right after Dracula gets his heart broken around Erica. Not a spoiler, it's going into romantic comedy territory. Heartbreak is gonna happen. It's predictable. It goes in fact the same direction as the previous film went, with that aspect of Mavis and Johnny was repeated here of Dracula and Erica. But at the same time, I feel it is a lot more structured because we have, one, an antagonist plot with Van Helsing and Erica trying to find an item that will make all the monsters meet their end, which turns out to be pretty silly and unfortunately goes under the pop culture but it's still kind of funny, so I guess it works fine, even if there are some serious problems there. So, that plus the inner conflicts of both Drac, Erica, as well as Mavis make the movie have a better story structure than the previous two. And Dracula is at his most likable, so it doesn't feel it has to repeat or undo character development for the sake of a plot, which is a major step up. The animation is about the same, and some great new characters come for some designs like the Kraken, and Van Helsing is mostly robotic other than his head because he had to replace most of his parts over time. So that leads to some great comedy and a really interesting looking contraption for his body. And there are some sequences that are really nice. The underwater volcano scene is just beautiful to look at, and some of the fish that Dracula and the Evers encounter. And it's done without any dialogue, which is really nice. So I believe that that one scene really is the best animated part of the whole movie, and maybe one of my favorite scenes. And it also works as a part where Erica might show a couple layers. Again, you know where it's going from the whole time, so it's not a spoiler. That's the biggest problem with this movie. You can tell where it's going, but it's not trying to be anything exciting or groundbreaking. So the character animation is still great, and we get a lot more with Blobby. He makes himself a kid by accident and then nurtures him and uses bits of himself to make the... No, he literally makes the kid out of himself, and then he does the same thing for items that Blobby Jr. will want. So it's so cute to watch, and it is a really creative way of making his character expressive, showing who he is. So yeah, the animation for this film isn't on par with the greatest animated films, but it's certainly fun. Now onto the characters. I like Dracula. I like him a lot in the first one, a lot less in the second one, and I'm back to liking him for the third movie. This film, he treats Johnny like family, and he doesn't have a problem with humans, especially since he falls in love with one. He does have some secrets from Mavis, but this time they really feel like they're for her own good and not for selfish reasons. He's afraid of hurting her more, and the ideas of being in love again, which with his old-fashioned views he doesn't quite understand. Mavis is taking on a role similar to Dracula from the first movie and is overprotective of her father, and she can tell something about Erica's off. But unlike Dracula with Johnny in the first film, she has reason to be, and her fears turn out to be pretty grounded. Johnny is less annoying in this one, but his DJ obsession does get a bit irritating. But in this one, he only mentions the backpack once or twice, which is a remarkable improvement. And there's moments when we see him with his son, so we don't have to think that he cares more about being alone with his wife and having a backpack than being a parent. Not saying that the former there's any problem with, but I'm still mad about that backpack being more important than his family. Ugh. Now on to our antagonist. Erica is a character that could have been extremely unlikable and made you think, oh, Drag, you are way too good for her. But she doesn't turn out to be that way. She is layered, even if she is in an antagonist role, and not sure whether I'll tell you whether they get together or not, but you do wind up enjoying her even when she's an antagonist as humorous, but also feeling for her for moments and when she connects a little with Dracula. Van Helsing is a fun villain. He is one that keeps to himself for most of the movie because he doesn't want to give himself away for the monster vacation. He's crafty, can lure monsters in, is ready to be very patient when he's attacking his victims, all of which make him a good villain, but he's also really fun too. It's just the climax that he's dealt with in is really weak, and yeah, so there is that as a problem. The other characters are fun, but they don't get much that's enough to really talk about them for. They're just funny as they were in the other ones, and there's not really much more added to them. They're really comic relief. Now, one problem some people have with this movie is something I think is done better. The concept of the zing. You only zing once is something that's said repeatedly in the first two films. In the third film, we begin to see maybe that's not entirely true. It might not be with Erica, but Dracula can fall in love again. And it's something that is really hard for them to accept because the concept of love at first sight and the one true love has always been there. But a lot of people, widows and widowers, are getting remarried if they find love again. It doesn't mean they don't love their original partners, it just means they felt that happiness again. So that, along with people that have gotten their hearts broken in the past, saying that it was their one zing, it's just unrealistic, which was a problem I had with the first movie. And I think it's nice that it's dealt with here well. Basically, if the first Hotel Transylvania movie was a typical Disney princess movie, this would be more under the lines of Enchanted with more realistic ideas of love. So, Hotel Transylvania 3 deals with a lot of the problems from the original, has some great humor, and does things with its characters to not make them regress into who they were from the first movie. It brings them back to who they were after the second movie and moves them on to make them grow even more. This could be the best of the trilogy, and I hope that they stop here before they start to go too far with the series. But like I said, if you're a fan of the first two, this is going to be a must-see. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have an anime film you want me to review, please link the comments section below.